retaliation if the report corruption.
We hear from Professor Bafo Ajimandria, who cites the winner-takes-all politics as the main cause of corruption in successive government.
Winner-takes-all system, a lot of people are tapping on it, but we are not giving a serious look at it. All this intense rivalry and either determination to our own, it's all because of the winner-takes-all.
Also, firm assurance to contain spillover of renewed clashes in Boku, as Northeast Regional Security Council says there is no cause to panic over Sunday's roadblock attack.
Definitely, all the security agencies are there, and we are not panicked. Things will be restored, and everything will go on well. But now, there's scam everywhere. You can't even find anybody on the street again on those issues.
And we'll hear from the Peace Council as they request feuding factions lay down their arms and dialogue.
Proposal first is to lay down the arm and let the parties engage. The second is to get all major stakeholders from the top, I say the top, from the presidency, the ministries, the MMDAs, all to play their roles.
Grateful for your time. Now, brace up for more power outages because, according to the minority in Parliament, the power situation will worsen this week as Gridco continues to shed load. Before we hear John Jinapo, though, the Finance Minister, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, has accused Asogli Power Plant of bad faith over the decision to shut down the plant over debt owed by the Electricity Company of Ghana. Now, the independent power producer earlier this month shut down its operations over $259 million debt owed by the Electricity Company of Ghana. Speaking at a news conference in Washington, D.C., USA, the finance minister described the action as interesting, looking at the progress that has been made on dealing with the debt issue. Meanwhile, the government has announced that it has made significant progress on addressing concerns of Asogli Power Plant and restructuring debt owed to other independent power producers. George Biafe has more from Washington, D.C.
Speaking at a news conference in Washington, D.C., USA, Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam raised concerns about Asogli Power Plant exercising bad faith over debts owed by the Electricity Company of Ghana.
I had meetings with Asogli, and we agreed that we will pay. But we wanted them to sign the settlement agreement because this is one of the terms of the agreement. They said, no, we should pay before they sign. But if it is part of the settlement agreement, why should I implement an agreement that has not been signed? And so we communicated this to Asogli, only for Asogli to come and say they no longer want 30 million, now they want 60 million. And if we don't pay them 60 million, they will shut down. That is why they shut down. Right. And so people behave as if we as a country, we don't know our rights or we don't know what we want. Especially when election is closer. Everybody thinks that, look, I can put a gun on the head of Ghana. And so by going ahead to shut down, they acted in bad faith. This is not how partners work together, particularly when it involves financial negotiations. So they shut down. We continue to produce power. I was informed only yesterday that they are ready to sign the settlement agreement.
Meanwhile, the finance minister has revealed that the government has made significant progress with the Asogli Power Plant and other independent power producers on debt owed.
We've really gone far. We negotiated with about 6 IPPs. The first 4, Senate, AXA, and then Car Power and Asogli. 2 of them we have signed on. We've signed the agreements, the settlement, and they are operational because they are not required to go to Parliament for approval. So Senate and AXA sign off.
The finance minister assured that government has also taken the needed measures to stabilize the power situation in Ghana whilst addressing most of the funding issues associated with the power generation sector.
Well, the minority in Parliament say the power situation will worsen this week as Gridco continues to shed load. Minority spokesperson on energy, John Jinapor, says the president must intervene to convince Asogli to come back on stream.
Well, our checks, incontrovertible, confirms that Gridco has been shedding load over the past 1 week, and that is going to get worse from today. There are two main reasons, and like Gridco put it, the first challenge is the issue of fuel. Because consumption is increased, the gas that we bequeath to this government is unable to meet the gas supply needs. And so government has been procuring light crude oil at a cost of about $40 million every month. But because of the current financial situation, government is unable to support the power sector players to procure light crude oil. And so as we speak, there is shortage of light crude oil. So even when the plants are available, because of inadequate fuel, they are unable to generate enough power to meet domestic needs. Two is that Asogli has also decided to shut down its plants, more than 500 megawatts. And so that creates a huge shortfall. And so the combined effect of these two unfortunate situations has led to a significant reduction in the supply of power, culminating in what we call doomsday or load shedding. And this has been ongoing for about 1 week. There is a solution, and the solution is in two folds. Firstly, the president must intervene and plead with Asogli to turn back their power plant. But that can only be done if some significant payment is made to Asogli, because as it stands, they have indicated that they cannot operate because of financial difficulty. Secondly, government must find some money so they can procure some light crude oil. But going forward, it means that the next government must ensure that we really accomplish the gas to power era that we all envisage. Without that solution, we'll keep having these fuel challenges and we'll keep having this load shedding that we are experiencing intermittently. And for me, that is where we ought to be focusing. This government has failed to address the challenges, the situation and the problems exacerbated. Now we are in load shedding, even though they don't want to, that they are shedding load. The truth is that the sector is crumbling. The debt keeps mounting. All the LCs have been called. All the guarantees called. And so technically, Ghana is in default. And at this, my worry is that the energy sector is on the verge of collapse.
Now, lead data and research analyst here at Joy News, Isaac Ofieje, joins me in studio with a breakdown of the figures. And so, what are the figures saying?
So, Carlos, immediately we switched from a power that is almost hydro to thermal. We should definitely know that what is going to be involved is fuel. And when you talk about fuel, you're talking about money. And just like John Jinapor said, the whole situation has to do with money. Okay. Now, so we decided to take a look at the transfers to the energy producers by government. Okay. And this is actually containing the IMF program that the government and the IMF put together for 2023 to 2026. So you can see this huge sums of money on the touch screen. In 2024, this year, government would have to pay about 22.3 billion Ghana cedis if they really want to keep the light on. That brings about 1.9 billion cedis every month. Now we are talking about 2025 next year after the election. Whoever is in power would have to be paying 22.7 billion. That means that would have actually increased from 22.3 billion to 22.7 billion. We are adding more than 500 or somewhere around 400 million Ghana cedis to this cost. Now, 2026, we are talking about 24.2 billion. An additional 1 billion will be added to the transfers that government would have to make to the producers. Why? Because this is a country that its energy mix is actually about more than 60% thermal. And all this thermal energy that we are talking about are being produced by independent power producers, and Asogli is one of them. Let's take a look at the next slide that talks about the cash waterfall mechanism, where the IPPs go, they go and drink. In terms of drinking, I mean go and get paid.
Exactly.
Now, the ECG is supposed to be the boss of the cash water for it. I mean, I don't want to say boss, I mean that bringing in money for all the other sector players to come and take their payment. Now, since, July or August 2023, there's what we call the top-up payment that the Ministry of Finance is supposed to do, because they estimate that what ECG collects may not be enough. So if you really want to keep the power on, the Finance Ministry must come in and pay some 212 on average every month to help stabilize the power. But what we understand is that since August 2023, the Finance Ministry has not really paid that money, and that brings us about 2.6 billion Ghana cedi that the Finance Ministry is supposed to pay between August of... Absolutely. That money has not been paid under the cash water for mechanism, and that's a big deal. 2.6 billion Ghana cedis is very huge.
All right, so we understand Asogli has been reacting to what the minister has been saying. Yeah. Exactly what? I mean,
Elikem Apetobo has actually been speaking. He speaks for Son Asogli, and he said they have not really acted in bad faith. They say the government has actually been dishonest because they believe that in December 2023, when a similar situation happened, they were very, very generous, where government was supposed to pay them some huge sums of money, but they agreed that instead of $90 million that government was supposed to pay them then, they agreed to $60 million. Government paid them $60 million. That additional $30 million.
So I believe that Joy Business will give us details into that particular story.
Yes, exactly.
Going forward. Thank you so much, Kofi, for all the details you've been sharing with us. And still with this issue, because the latest Afrobarometer report has indicated a decline in citizens' trust in the government commitment to fight corruption. Now, the report captured 82% of respondents indicating that the government is badly handling the fight against corruption. According to the survey, the Ghanaian public increasingly views the EC as corrupt. The Ghana Police Service, meanwhile, continues to be at the top of the list of most corrupt public institutions. And so, Kofi, let's start with the ranking of the institutions perceived by to be most corrupt, according to the survey.
If you go to the touch screen, what you can see is that if you sample 10 Ghanaians, 6 or about 7 believe that the police are the most corrupt, followed by the office of the president. In terms of the rank, police is number 1, followed by the office of the president, tax officials, members of parliament. About 5 or 6 out of Ghanaians say members of parliament are very corrupt. Judges and magistrates. Electoral Commission is also one of them that features in the top 10, about 43%. The MMDCs we are talking about are also about 43%. Now let's go to the next slide that talks about the additional most corrupt institutions in Ghana: civil servants, assemblymen and women, business executive. The list goes on and on. So this is what has actually been put up by the Afrobarometer and then CDD. But this is actually what shocks me. In terms of the performance in corruption, the fight against corruption, previously we were around 85%, where Ghanaians believed that government was actually fighting corruption.
That was in 2022.
Absolutely, but currently we are talking about just 82%. It means we've dropped by some, 3 percentage points. That's very, very significant. But this is what actually caught my attention in the report. In terms of the institutions that Ghanaians believe are very corrupt, just look at the Electoral Commission. From 2012 to 2024, they've lost 30 percentage points in terms of where they were 2012. That means that the Electoral Commission has actually moved from 59% now to 28%. That's very, very huge. I mean, 30% drop. 30 percentage point. That's let me put it that way. That's also very.
So let's talk about what the respondents think about the fight against corruption also.
I mean, if you look at the fight against corruption, they believe that government is actually not doing it well. If you look at the trend, just like the way corruption has actually been moving down, that has actually moved from the 85 that we saw in that slide to now 82%. So I think about 3% of Ghanaians have actually dropped their faith in government in the fight against corruption. So we've moved from 85 now to 82%. We've lost about 3 percentage points.
Grateful for your time there. Now, we are joined via Zoom by Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Bar Association, Sylvia Kuja, for some reaction to this particular development. Thank you so much for your time here. What is your reaction to what we've seen, and how do we deal with this canker?
Thank you very much, and good evening to you and your viewers.
I am not surprised, but I'm just disappointed. I am not surprised because we have lost our values and principles as a people. I maintain this, and I keep saying it every time. If you take the judiciary, for instance, or any of the institutions named, I don't believe that those who work in those institutions pay bribes to themselves.
All right.
It is those of us outside those institutions who go to do that. And why do we do that? All because we are in a hurry. Why don't we allow our systems to work? If our systems work, I don't think we should be doing some of these things. So for me, gradually, I think that corruption is getting institutionalized in Ghana. It appears it's in our genes. We don't want to stop it.
All right. So, but in the case of the Electoral Commission, for instance, are you suggesting that Ghanaians go there to pay money?
It's possible. Because you see, it's all about perception. Sometimes responses to issues raised also let people just form their views. But you see, I have said, and I'll continue to say that our laws on corruption and bribery, for instance, do not help us. If you have a law that says that the giver and the taker are equally guilty, so your expectation is that the giver goes to say that I have given bribe to a taker. Ask yourself, if the giver was such a principled person, would he have given the bribe in the first place?
Okay.
The answer is no. So once he's been able to give, forget about coming to report. And what is holding us back to revise this law? To say that only the taker is the one who will be held responsible. I don't think that we are serious about fighting corruption. Let's forget about it.
All right. Thank you so much.
And one other thing I believe accounts for this is that we just worship wealth. We don't we don't question the source of wealth. That's what we are getting to now. Look at somebody 18 years who is going to jail for life just because he wanted money at 18. Somebody who hasn't worked before had to kill somebody for money. What did he know about money? I don't even know what to say. I'm just confused.
I get a point there. We are so grateful for your time here. Now, we can hear from the Senior Research Director at the CDD and Afrobarometer, Mavis Domeho, says the reason people are afraid of blowing the whistle on corrupt practices is the fear of retaliation.
Look at whether people believe they can report corruption without fear. We have almost quarter of Ghanaians saying that they fear retaliation if they report corruption. If you look at trust in institutions, we have trust still high among state institutions such as the Ghana Armed Forces. We also have high among religious leaders, traditional leaders, and NGOs. But when you come down to elected officials, then trust decreases. The level of people who trust these state elected officials are less compared to other institutions. Now, trust has witnessed a decline compared to 12 years ago. There's a lot of decline, particularly among elected officials and state institutions. And as I said earlier, the good news is that we still support elections. Majority do say that the last election, that's about 60% do say the last election was free and fair, or free and fair with minor problems. Majority say that when election is held, they would look at candidates' honesty, character, campaign promises are the most leading issues that will influence their vote in any election that will be held.
Now, former advisor to the United Nations on Governance, Professor Ajiman Dua, believes the winner-takes-all practice is reason for corruption in public institutions.
In my humble view, we are having some crises in our practice of democracy. And this is not the first time I'm saying this. It's not only on democracy, but also on our development. When your politics supersedes your effort to develop, and the loyalty of public officials are to the parties rather than to the state that they serve, then you have a crisis on both fronts. So I think we have to take a serious look at how we are practicing our democracy. Whether it's the duopoly or whatever we want to call it, the fact is that our politics seem to be drawing us backwards instead of advancing our development and, of course, democratic practice itself.
Let's now shift our attention to Boku, where security chiefs in the Northeast region are currently in a meeting over yesterday's roadblock attack following renewed clashes in that part of town. Now, the conflict is reported to have been sparked by the return of rival chief Seydou Abagri. Joint police and military personnel have since been deployed to restore stability. It's unclear how many persons have been killed in the clashes, but MC for Wale Wale, Isahaku Somolaki, assured that there is no cause for panic as they fashion measures to deal with the security situation.
So far, so very good. We are in it. The regional minister is chairing the program, and we have discussed a lot of things that will bring peace back to the good people of Northeast region. You know, we are in Northeast region, but the issue is at Boku. But the people in Boku are also affected by the people in Northeast region because the Mampusis there are also, some of them are coming from Northeast region. So we have to be concerned with what is going on. But in terms of what is happening in West Mampusi and Padamata Wale Wale, inshallah, so far, so very good. There's no more problem. Everything is going on peacefully without any problem.
There are many figures that are being bandied around about the number of people who have died. How many people are on your list?
That is exactly what I cannot say for now because we are still in the meeting. And both the police and the military are there to give us the update. So we are on it to settle on how it was done. But so far, I have heard of one person. But the other ones that people are talking about, that's what the police is now going to update us on. That is when it comes to our area. But we don't know what is happening in Boku.
But do we know whether any of them are receiving treatment at the hospital?
Certainly, I don't have information on that as well because the municipal security commander is also in the meeting and he's just about to give us his briefing on the matter.
Going forward, will there be heavy deployment of the police and military on the ground for some time?
If there is a need for that, if that will bring peace back to the place, we will do that. Fortunately, all the security agencies are there and we are not panicked. Things will be restored and everything will go on well. But now there's calm everywhere. You can't even find anybody on the street again on those issues.
Now, Paris Regional Executive Secretary of the Peace Council, Ali Anakpeng, wants the fielding parties to lay down their arms and use dialogue to resolve their grievances.
As far as coming from the ground is an expression of fear because, for some time now, Boku was quite calm. People were going about their businesses peacefully, and then suddenly this new round of violence emerged. So it is an expression of fear and the insecurity that is now surrounding the whole place, as I said, even including travel from Boku to the south, especially on the Tamale highway, then around Boku itself. So the issue is about the fear and the fact that they believe the security services should be doing more to ensure that at least some of the violence is curtailed in a way.
What would be the Peace Council's proposal?
So our proposal first is to lay down the arm and let the parties engage. The second is to get all major stakeholders from the top, from the presidency, the ministries, the MMDAs, all to play their roles in ensuring that the parties are able to engage in the way that they can sit and listen to each other. The Peace Council itself from our national level has a role to play, and we are saying all at that level should begin to see the Boku issue as a national issue and tackle it as such.
Let's now touch base with our correspondent in the Upper East region, Albert Sorry. He joins us with the latest from Boku via Zoom. Albert, what's the situation on the ground as we speak?
Yes, so this evening, calm has returned to some extent, because mainly the police and military presence has increased today. And so we haven't witnessed shootings or people have not heard sounds of gunshot like it was yesterday and 2 days ago. And so things are calm at the moment, except that throughout the day, many people have stayed indoors. The Boku streets were almost deserted because a lot of the were seeing in those hotels. So that also helped the security personnel to have some more.
Oh, okay, Albert, we are grateful for your time there. We are struggling to hear Sally, what you say because of the connectivity. Now, in the meantime, NDC presidential candidate John Mahama is urging all parties involved in the Boko conflict to prioritize peace. Speaking on the first day of his tour in the northern region, he emphasized the importance of unity and end to hostilities. Mahama stated that an NDC-led government would implement strategies designed to achieve lasting peace in the area.
My brothers and sisters in the Lord, Ghana is known for its peaceful religious coexistence. We've always been the envy of many countries in our sub-region, where peace has eluded them. Whether in football or in politics, even when we disagree, we have always respected each other's views. The peaceful resolution of various conflicts in Yendi is a testimony of our desire for peaceful existence and progress. But this peace, this gift, precious gift, must never be taken for granted. As we approach the elections, we should never forget that peace is fragile. And like an egg, once it is cracked, it cannot be put together again without the scars showing. We've also witnessed attacks and various forms of violence visited on young people peacefully embarking on health walks or expressing their opinions. We must never again unleash fatal violence on our people at polling stations, peacefully expressing their democratic rights to choose their leaders. We must all commit not to be the first to throw the stone.
Now, Joy News has showcased 8 stories on the environment and climate change responsiveness to the public at this year's Green Film Festival in Accra. The Joy News Climate Focus series and hotline documentaries on illegal mining and environmental devastation featured prominently at the festival. At a masterclass, a lead producer of Joy News Climate Focus series, Kofi Edu-Domfe, reiterated the essence of enhancing conversations on climate change in the country.
With a growing population and an economy reliant on industries like agriculture, Ghana faces increased climate vulnerability, similar to many West African nations. With extreme weather conditions and increased temperatures already affecting the economy and human security, leading to shifting living conditions across the country. Speaking to Joy News at the 2024 Green Film Festival in Accra, Kofi Edu-Domfe, lead producer of the Joy News Climate Focus series, urged government and key stakeholders to adopt innovative solutions to address climate change in Ghana.
One of the cardinal interests in coming up with this production at Joy News is to highlight the critical importance of the climate conversation. Climate change, as we all know, is a phenomenon that is currently with us, not only in Ghana, but the globe. And for us, we believe it's part of our responsiveness to create awareness, to drive the narrative around climate change, and most essentially, to bring policy to bear on the need for us to act in the area of mitigation and adaptation. We will not relent in our productions. Being a responsible media house, we continue to partner our responsible agencies and organizations in driving home this critical issue of climate change.
On tackling climate change in Ghana, Country Director for the Climate and Development Knowledge Network, Dr. Prince Ansan, stated that the organization is currently supporting several innovative solutions to address climate challenges in the country.
When it comes to the conversation about climate change, most of the time people think it's too technical, again, it's too academic and things like that. So what we are doing as CDCAN is to be able to break that conversation from that technical world or that research or the academic world to everyday language or everyday use. So essentially, we stand between the academic world who produce the research evidence and then the society who needs to hear and take action. media partnership is one of the creative ways that we do, and we find Joy News as one of the key partners that have opened up their doors to have broader conversations about climate change.
For MFR Eli Ntiamwa, Strategic Programs Manager at Joy News, partnerships are essential in promoting environmental awareness and driving climate action.
If we were to be doing this all by ourselves, we will be so much limited, and so we need partners on board. The stories are a lot, and also to be able to cover the whole of Ghana, to appreciate the issues better, you would need partners to be able to work with. Of course, there are people who are already in the field. They have the knowledge, they know where to source, what kind of support, what kind of resource, and even the source of the information, as in terms of research, evidence-based research, that you need to be able to do the stories or to tell the public about what the issues are when it comes to sustaining the environment or protecting the environment. We are positioning ourselves as that media house that is able to rally and harness the necessary supports in that space to be able to do that.
Some patients shared their impression on climate initiatives showcased at the event.
The issue about climate is not just about attention and creation of awareness, but it is a call to action, and everyone is expected to answer the call, whether you are within the government sphere, whether you are a private individual, because at the end of the day, the consequences is coming to everybody. The consequences or the sun doesn't choose who to shine on. Are you getting it? We are all under the same heat, and everyone is supposed to take up the action.
Policymakers should take action on making sure people at a very local level are making slight changes to the way they do their things.
The film screening event also featured exhibition of projects, including green business innovations and ecosystem-based adaptation technologies. For Joy News, Stephen Menson's report read to you.
You're still watching Joy News Prime with me, Carlos Caloni. We have more after this break. Please stay. Welcome back. In our latest episode of Street of Despair, my colleague Sweetie Abochi takes us deep into the heart of Tamale Station, where a family bound by circumstance rather than blood has created a fragile sense of home. Beneath the terminal, a scrap of rubber, a mosquito net, and a thread of hope are all that stand between them and the unyielding street. If you have ever wondered what life looks like on the street at night, here is a sneak peek.
Accra, a city that never sleeps. While most of us retreat to our homes, the streets tell a different story. Here at Tamale Station, children call the streets home. Different groups have settled here, families, not bound by blood, but by circumstance. Poverty and unemployment push them to the streets, where survival looks very different. A mat beneath a bus stop, a mosquito net, and hope are their only shelter. But the night brings danger, and 17-year-old Samira shares her daily fears with me.
Sleeping on the street is very difficult for us because sleeping here, scammers, thieves, they are moving on us all around, all night and all day. So some people have been stealing our things, and we don't know. We are just managing to like that until we go. It's just by the grace. It's just God gift. God just gifted us.
Despite the harsh conditions here, teenage mother Aisha believes life in Accra is still better than the struggle she left up north.
Life here is very difficult. It's very difficult. There's no work here. The work, if you want to get work, it will be difficult for you to get work. And if you went out to go and carry kaya, it will be very difficult to get that kaya.
Why did you come to Accra?
Just to find money. Because working on north is very difficult. And here too, we are just managing here.
I spent the evening with one family. These children here, too young to understand their plight, also find happiness in the little things, like a simple day's routine. They look forward to the night because it is a time for games, laughter, and storytelling, an escape from reality when they have the lorry station to themselves. This is life on Accra's street, a life of resilience and struggle, but also of hope. Hope for a future away from these streets, where their children can dream beyond survival. Suchi Abochi's report for Joy News, Accra.
Now, former Majority Leader and Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, Omen Bonso, is confident the New Patriotic Party will secure victory in the upcoming elections, drawing from recent surveys conducted by credible stakeholders committed to the nation's progress and integrity and free from any political influence. Speaking in a yet-to-air interview with Evans Mensah, Mr. Mensah Bonso stressed that if the elections had been held in mid-2023, the National Democratic Congress would have had a clear upper hand, but recent data indicate a noticeable shift in favor of the NPP. He highlighted the NDC's initial lead has been steadily declining as the electorate become more focused on policy solutions rather than party loyalty. He attributed this shift to the innovative and practical proposals offered by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who he says brings a fresh perspective and targeted strategies that are designed to address the current economic and social challenges facing the nation.
My inspiration from facts and figures available to me.
What facts and figures are these?
I know. I've seen the surveys that have been done, the researches that have been done, and I'm talking to the figures that I'm seeing.
Yeah, but
the point is
your own surveys, are they credible?
No, it's not my own service. It's the party's own service.
So what surveys are these?
It's coming from interested parties, major stakeholders in the fortunes of Ghana. And I've seen the figures. I've seen the figures. And look, if elections had held last year, before the holding of our primaries, it would have been, a no contest for the NDC.
Complete wipeout.
A no contest for the NDC. That's mid-2023. Even until we elected our flag bearer, the kind of divisiveness and the language that was being employed by some people, some of whom were even in the race, really, they were not filtering their statements. And it was really doing some considerable, causing some internal bleeding in the party. So maybe by the close of even last year, if elections had held, the NDC would have really had a very heavy margin of victory. I've seen the figures first quarter this year, and I saw that the lead of the principal person for the NDC has been plummeting. June, it comes down. September, it's down. Look, this election is going to be determined by what happens the next 1 month or 1.5 months ahead of us. I'm telling you. And whereas Bawumia is coming out with sharp solutions, bold solutions, our compatriot, he cannot reinvent himself.
Which figures is this? Because I've seen, you talk about independent, neutral parties, of course, watching on and doing their own polling. But I've seen Fitch predict that NDC will win this. I've seen the Economic Intelligence Unit report. So where are you getting these figures from?
When was it done?
I mean, The last one,
when was it done?
The Fitch one was in the last couple of months.
When was it done?
In the last couple of months. The
It
Fitch
was
one,
released.
if I'm
It
not
was
mistaken,
released
the last
about a month ago.
When
was the survey itself done? That's what you should be speaking to.
When was your survey done?
Oh, are you responding to my question with another question?
No, I saw the results a month ago. You saying, of course, it was collected
I'm asking you,
before that, which is fair.
When was it done?
I can't tell you that as I speak.
Precisely.
But I've mentioned my sources that say that you are losing the election. You say you were winning.
Yes.
And what's your source?
And I don't need to disclose my source to you.
But you must. I told you
that
everybody else
I've given you a hint that it's made up of interested parties, major stakeholders in the affairs of Ghana. Independent, objective, analysis.
Now let's take you to faraway India, where the National Museum of India houses a remarkable collection of over 60,000 diverse art forms gathered from across the country, with some artifacts dating back as far as 9,000 years. Joy News' Upper West regional correspondent Rafiq Salam was part of a group of 30 journalists from 9 West and Central African countries invited by the Indian government. Report that if one were to spend just 1 minute observing each item, it would take 2 years, 9 months, and 23 days to see the entire collection.
Day 2 of my visit to India took me to the National Museum of India. Here, there are over 60,000 collections of all fields of arts that were taken from different parts of the country. According to a volunteer guide of the museum, Pradashai, for one to see each of the objects in a minute, you will require 2 years, 9 months, and 23 days.
Actually, an exhibition of Indian antiquities was held in London in 1947-48. And that was a time when India just got independence, And then these artifacts were basically collected from the different parts of the country. And in 1949, they all were brought back to the country and they were displayed at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. And over there, we found many visitors at that place. Finally, we decided to have our own museum. So it all started at that point of time. We finished the building in 1960. So we are into this museum since 1960.
The museum, on daily basis, attracts waves of visitors from all walks of life, including pupils from slew of schools in the country.
The museum is very big. The footfall, you can see a lot of students here. It has around a footfall around 5,000 persons every day. If you go by the visitors, we have visitors from every age group, starting from the small kids you can see here to the senior citizens. The gallery has, in the ground floor, the gallery has been arranged in the chronological order, ascending period of time periods. So we start from Harappa, we move on to the late medieval, that is 15th century. And a lot of galleries thereafter have a specific theme,
Now, for the first time in 4 years, the Ashanti region's hopes for the NSMQ glory has been dashed. The region, which has proven to be an indomitable force over the years, suffered an unexpected setback this year, with none of its 29 participating schools making a grand finale appearance. My colleague Jacqueline Ansoma Yeboah has the breakdown on the intense battles that led to this moment.
The journey began with high hopes as 29 Ashanti schools threw in their hat in the ring for this year's National Science and Maths Quiz. 8 of these schools were seeded, but as the dust settled, it became clear that Ashanti star power would face some heavy challenges. The heartbreak began when 5-time champions Prempeh College had to take a bow after suffering a defeat to Infansipim School. 2-time champions with the most final appearances, Opokuwari School, bowed out after a tough clash with Ghana National College, both at the quarter-final stage.
We are going to show Opokuwari School that when you are going to Kumasi, when you get to Yamransa, you turn left. And so we have shown them the road to Santasi. We gave their ladies the same point margin of 21 points, and today we have given their husbands also a 1-point margin.
I said at the end, we say what? Let's accept these words in French. At this point, for Prempeh College, c'est fini.
Then there was Osei Tutu Senior High School, who defied the odds to reach the semi-finals for the first time. Despite their fierce determination, they were edged out by Infantapim School, putting an end to the Ashanti region's run.
Bayern versus Barcelona. I hope you check the scoreline.
I checked the scoreline.
Yesterday, Barcelona versus Real Madrid. I hope you check the scoreline. Uti, today we are going to beat Presec and Buche.
Schools from the region over the last 4 years proved to be a force to reckon with, but from an initial lineup of 29 schools, 8 of them seeded, only 4 of the schools have a safe spot in the next edition. The region is, however, gearing up to come back stronger in the next edition to claim their glory as the powerhouse in the national competition. For Joy News, I'm Jacqueline Ansuma Yaboa.
That's all we have time for. You can log on to myjoyonline.com for more stories. My name is Carlos Keloni. Prime Business is up next with Pius.